Ghost Coat Magazine welcomes in Mike Scheidt of Yob. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. Great to talk to you. Great to see you on the road just recently. A few days before we are chatting now, I saw you guys at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. Phenomenal show. Yob, True Widow, and Broom. Phenomenal show. I know True Widow is on the tour, but what a treat also to have Broom as the openers because they're so great.
Yeah, they really are. I enjoyed their set tremendously. They're just such good folks. I've known Jackie for a long time, and it was they just leveled. They have a really amazing sense of dynamics. It's fun to watch them.
Indeed, they slay, and I also am a Jackie O'File. I have followed her entire career, possibly to an obsessive level as a fan, let alone in the journalistic style. So I've been lucky to see, like your band, I've been lucky to see your band on multiple continents and many times. And so, I'm just so grateful to see live music right now. It's been such a tough couple of years. I hope you're feeling well. I hope the band is good. I know Travis is off the road, but just in general, I hope everybody is in your circle is good right now because it's been so hard.
Yeah, we're all doing good, and it's there's certainly been lots of challenges I think for everybody, and some worse than others, but it's certainly been a collective mind job, and we're trying to all get back into it. And we're feeling really positive, and certainly it seems to be reflected in the people that are coming out, and yeah, we really have no complaints. Everybody's good.
Awesome. So glad to hear it. And of course you guys slayed. The show was phenomenal. Like I said, I can't say enough. I think it was quite a long set, at least to my recollection. There really are no short yob songs anyway. So, it's a patience game, but a very rewarding time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, before everything kind of, all the tours were canceled, we would have been still touring, Our Raw Heart. And so, over 2 years later, getting back into it, it's one of those things where, we're making up the shows that we missed, but normally we wouldn't be really out. We'd be focusing a lot more on writing music but this just seems like a good time to do it. And especially with the Atma remix and remaster coming out, it's a lot of fun to I guess not only to play but just kind of pay homage to that record too. And we're playing the long sets in part because I don't know when we're going to be back out. I'm not saying it's going to be a long time, but we need to make some new music, and being out on the road is incredibly inspiring for that. Not just to play music and get things going as a band that's showing up somewhere every day to play, but also just to see other bands and see what they're doing from the crowd. It's just very inspiring.
Right on. And, of course, I'm always a big proponent of saying, like as much as first of all, good art can't be rushed. And, certainly as much as I love our raw heart, certainly people are like, oh, I love this so much. When is the next one? That's a obsessive fan take, right? But I feel like you have to have life in between poles of records, right? In between creating these works of music and art, you need to take the time to live so you have experience to pour into the next thing, whatever that is.
Yeah, there's some people that are, it seems like they're just highly prolific, and they're able just to kind of dip into this well within themselves and pour music out. I've had certainly chunks of time in my life where I've been like that. And, I would say the last few years, it's been a little bit slower for me, but, I'm not complaining. It's like you said, it's, when, like what you're saying, when someone says, hey, when's the next record? They're not, what they're saying is, when is the next record that reflects why I love you guys so much, and that is a new thing. And yeah, that does take time. For me, it does. And so, it's no rush to try to just get something out there to keep touring, because that's, for one, that's not how we're wired. And two, I think that's probably not going to be satisfying, you know, to us or to other people.
Right on. I'm not trying to bag on the fans because I'm also a fan.
Oh no, no, I know.
I'm saying, like, I think it's the passion for
I'm
your
not either.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, the passion for your music is where I think that centers, and not like impatience or unfairness. Listen, records take the time they take. We just had 2 years. You could blot out the whole world. If you weren't inspired the last couple of years to talk about anything, I would understand, because it was a brutal time. A lot of people, I lost some friends. I'm sure you lost some friends. It was rough out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole world is going through like a crazy psychotic break. And as we're just coming out of it, now we have World War. Like, you know, I often joke about like all the things. You and I had a whole conversation about black and death metal the last time we talked. And I was like, oh, remember all those things we predicted? Famine and plague and horrors of war? Here we are. Here it is
Yeah.
again. So, we have something that, now we can find some inspiration. But, a lot of people couldn't work the last couple of years. They didn't feel passionate or creative. And I fully understand that. If you just, everybody was kind of in a holding pattern.
Yeah, yeah, myself included. You know, it wasn't that I didn't play or with riffs. Riffs, there just isn't the glue that makes it into music quite yet. You know, it, so it's just. But I feel it. It's every time. I mean, I'm sure it's true for everybody. Each record has its own kind of life, and you just have to figure out where you're being moved and jump on and write it out and see where it takes you. And for me, often it means I have to get better because I'll hear something in my head that's out of my realm or my experience, and so I have to dig into a lot of music as a listener and do a lot of reading, take some lessons, and try to build up some new skills. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Nice. Never stop learning. That's always a good way. Be thirsty and curious, right? I love that you mentioned the Atma reissue. 10 years last year for Atma, and you played Atma live, and you always do, to my knowledge. But yeah, it was such a phenomenal and deep record. And it has held up. I mean, most of your stuff does, but that does seem to be the one, that and Clearing, that people seem to go back and talk to me about. So yeah, it's really great. And then, just coincidentally, May 1st, I think, is the 20th anniversary of Elaborations of Carbon. So I know,
Wow.
not that you want to get too deep in the woods and self-reflective, but, you are putting down, I think the 8-9 releases plus all your other work, your other bands, your solo record in 20 years. It's quite a lot of releases to me. Like 13, 14, 15, releases total is a lot to me.
Yeah, I guess I don't really think about it, but it does sound like a lot.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's I'm more nostalgic about other people's music than my bands. I'm very nostalgic about my friendships. So Aaron and Travis and Dave is out with us, and I still keep in touch with pretty much everybody from earlier lineups. It's just I don't look back a lot. Occasionally I do to learn something we forgot, but yeah, I think in those early days it was really, there was a lot of excitement in the sense that it felt like you happened on this cool thing, and it was bands and playing kind of for each other and for the handful of people that were into it, and people really pouring their hearts into it. It felt very kind of punk to me in a way, and how just kind of connected that scene was. And but there wasn't like a very big audience for it. I mean, you fast forward 20 years, things have changed quite a bit. And in a lot of cases, you go see Acid King, it's not them that changed, it was the audience that changed. There's just a group of people that caught up. So when Acid King would play for 200 people, now they go travel around and play for a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with playing with 200 people. I'm going to play to 200 people tonight. I'm going to play my ass off, but it's just having a worldwide listenership is on a level that you just, it's a weird thing. It's weird and wonderful, but I think, back then it was just a handful of places where people would kind of congregate and talk about heavy riffs, and there was a lot of excitement there, a lot of excitement. And I still feel that excitement now. There's a handful of records that I'll never not listen to. And they were instructive 20 years ago, they're instructive today. And I'm really glad that, that it's grown so much. And I mean, there's a lot of bands and they're all just trying to make some music happen and listen to some loud amps and get nerdy with pedals. It's amazing.
Right on. I love to nerd out. Now I have to ask, like, what are those records? I don't think I've ever asked you this question before. Like, what are those records you always return to? What are your favorite records ever?
Well, I mean, as far as like the stuff I was listening to back then, I'm referring to like in the stonerrock.com days. Certainly, Burning Witch, Crippled Lucifer, Cathedral, um, Force of Equilibrium, Soul Sacrifice, and the Ethereal Mirror were big deals to me. Pentagram, Relentless, and Be Forewarned, and Acid King, uh, Busey Woods, and also really, I mean, it was a bit later, but I really like Acid King 3 quite a bit. And Electric Wizard, Super Coven, and Come My Fanatics, and Dope Throne, Orange Goblin, Frequencies from Planet 10, Operator Generator, Polar Fleet. That's a record that not enough people talk about. I mean, if that band just showed up today in the form that they were in 15 years ago, they would just automatically be one of the best bands. They had the one record, it was one and done, but that was a spectacular band. So yeah, stuff like that.
Radical. I love that you mentioned Forest of Equilibrium. Super criminally underrated, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a Terrorizer comp, Terrorizer Magazine, rest in peace for many years. But they used to come with the comp CDs on them if you could get them in America, and it was like $25. And I'm pretty sure I saved all my pennies from work. Whatever disposable
Mm-hmm.
money I had was to buy these magazines from Europe, and that was the first time I heard them, and I was like, oh, where's this band been all my life?
Yeah,
So
it really, that record for me was like, to my understanding anyway, the last Napalm Death record that Lee was on was Mentally Murdered EP, and then he went to Cathedral, and I was just such a big fan of Napalm Death, and I gotta say, at first I didn't really get it. Like when I first heard Force of Equilibrium, it was weird because I was certainly into the bands that they were kind of referencing, like, obviously Black Sabbath, but also Trouble and Candlemass, but I just didn't understand their take on it. And it wasn't until I saw them in '92, and they blew me away, and it just was a permanently changed the riffs I wanted to write.
nice. As I said, the live show is the thing. You guys are out on tour, and as much as I always return to the records, and I'm sure the fans do, I love to see you guys live, and I love watching you perform. And you're right, Dave is killing it out there. I had an interesting, fun question. I posted a picture of you. I was like off to the side and behind you a little bit, and somebody in the Ghost Cult socials was like, like I've never seen Yob, and it's interesting to see Mike stand kind of like parallel to his amps. So like I know
Mm-hmm.
you've always you sort of sing, and then you jump out and you kind of riff and jam and solo kind of in front of your amps. But yeah, it was funny that that's what somebody saw the photo of me kind of behind you. So I have you at the mic with your pedals in front of you, and then kind of like that angle made it look like you were definitely like facing inward to the stage instead of out to the crowd. So I think it would pique the interesting. Have you always done that? Is that something that you developed with Yob as a frontman, or is that something you've always done?
I mean, I think in the early days, maybe I didn't do that, but probably for 20 years I have. I've just always faced faced the band, and so it's almost like it's a jam room thing. But some of our hits and the way that we play and some of the weird lags in timing, I keep the drums just, I watch them out of the left side of my eye, or out of my left eye, I should say. And so I kind of am tracking drums, and, we're performing together, and then we're sharing that with an audience. And so that's kind of what it feels like. And it's, as far as my having my back to drums, I've just never felt very comfortable with that.
Right. It does feel like a very communal performance then also because, then it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like you guys are all kind of not tuning each other out, but tuned into each other, which is awesome.
yeah. It's just, that's exactly it. It's just how we we generate our energy on stage, and yeah, that's right.
Right on. I just have a couple more for you, man, and then I'll give you back your evening. You've been terrific as always. I really appreciate it. Like you said, who knows what the future holds, but hopefully more touring. I imagine you have some riffs and ideas ready for the next record, but I guess we should say we probably shouldn't presume there will be a new album before next year.
I mean, I can't really say. I mean, these things take so long anymore. Even if we got crazily inspired and then had a new record 3 months from now, we wouldn't have vinyl from a year after that. And so things are just moving so slow right now, and it'd be interesting to see if any of the bigger labels end up investing in pressing plants like they used to. So that they're not bogging down things for smaller bands. But it's the world we live in. I'm not really complaining. That's just a little, a thought. But and it's not my thought. I heard about it from ever since Jack White
Yes.
did that video. That thing has circulated around quite a bit. It was a pretty cool way to talk about it, I thought. And but whatever it is, these things take time, and I think realistically we're not going to have a new record 3 months from now that we will wait a year for at a vinyl plant. So my goal is just making sure that whatever we put out there, if it's going to be medicine for anyone else, it's got to work on us first. So we got to just be we're the control group.
Right on. Beautifully said. I keep my fingers crossed, and I appreciate that Jack put that message out because people seem to really respond to him. He's always obviously a mainstream superstar rock guy, but with Third Man and other things, he always seems to have like one hand in the still kind of in the underground and supporting the little guy a little. So I like that a lot, and he understands the business that like I don't know about trickle down anything, but clearly if the big three record labels in the world kind of like pool their resources a little smarter, it might have less of a burden on everybody else.
Yeah, we'll see. It's certainly like you said, it started a conversation, and I can't believe it hasn't gotten back to him. So it'll be interesting to see if and how it unfolds.
Indeed. And then just for a last thing, I always like to ask you if you've read any good books lately, because I'm always fascinated by what you got on your mind.
These days I haven't read any. I haven't read any fiction in a while. I've been reading mostly nonfiction, and I do a lot of books on CD or not on CD, like audiobooks. But lately I've been climbing pretty heavily into Buddhism, and particularly Dzogchen Buddhism. And there's a book by a teacher named Thinley Norbu, and that's ThinleyNorbu. And the book is called White Sail, and it's a really far out and deep book that kind of talks about it's largely talking about Vajrayana Buddhism, as in the Tibetan style, but it's the kind of book that's you just have to really take your time with it. And if it's something that interests you, even if it's something that you're really passionate about, you have to take your time with it, because there's just a lot of layers of things being talked about all at the same time. But that's been the one that I've been probably dug deep into the most. But I've been also kind of hungering for some fiction. I really enjoy I like reading horror novels, and they're fun. And I've been thinking about branching out and climbing into I need to reread Blood Meridian. I haven't read that in a while, and I want to jump back into that again. And that's one that actually I'm probably going to bring to Europe and read it.
Yeah, that's a great book. Fantastic job. Yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us, man. And in general, just great to see you doing what you do. I really appreciate you. Phenomenal show the other night. It was definitely a gift getting this music from you guys. And just continued, keep safe out there on the road, and we'll keep our heads up and our ears open, hopefully, for some new yob in the next while.
Yeah, man. Well, that's it's certainly. I can't believe it's not coming. It's just, it's one of those things where when I know, you'll know.
For sure, for sure. Mike, man, thanks so much for hanging out with me and Ghost Cult and our listeners. I really appreciate you. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
All right, man. Thank you very much.